Who is a better NBA player, CJ McCollum or Anfernee Simons? For the last 6 years, CJ has been an astonishing second option for the Portland Trail Blazers behind Damian Lillard. However, after 6 years of repeated failure, and with Anfernee Simons showing his capability in 2021, the Blazers office pulled the trigger and traded CJ to prioritize defense, meaning Simons and Dame would be the new backcourt. With that being said, in this video, I'll be comparing the two in numerous categories, such as accomplishments, the numbers they put up, shooting splits, and the basic eye test to try to figure out which Blazer guard is better. I hope you guys enjoy this analysis. Let's get started. First, let's give a general comparison between the two players. So both are 6'3", but Simons does have a larger wingspan at an astonishing 6'9" compared to CJ, who still has an impressive wingspan at 6'6". CJ is 31 years old compared to Simons, who is 23, and that age comparison is just for your guys' knowledge. Obviously, Simons is a more valuable piece to a team given his youth, but again, this video is answering the question, who is the better player? Simons being 20 pounds lighter than CJ McCollum, as well as having a higher vertical leap, indicates that Simons is a bit more athletic than CJ McCollum. For this video, I'll be using Basketball Index, which provides very specific stats that most websites don't offer. But before we get there, let's just look at some basic box score stats. So for basic career regular season stats, CJ McCollum has averaged 19 points compared to Simons' 11.5 a game. CJ McCollum has averaged over one more rebound a game than Anfernee Simons, as well as over one more assist per game than Anfernee Simons. CJ McCollum has actually averaged more steals and blocks compared to Anfernee Simons. So far, CJ McCollum looks like the better player, but then again, you have to remember, CJ McCollum has been a great player for such a long period of time. Simons has not been a great player for that long, so these statistics are not very fluctuated in Simons' favor, but let's continue. For their career shooting percentages, CJ McCollum has shot 45.3% compared to Simons, who's been shooting 42.7%. They have the exact same three-point percentage at 39.5% or 39%, and Anfernee Simons is actually a 3% better free throw shooter than CJ McCollum for their careers. For this final statistic, this is their comparison on their best season, which is very important to look at because, Anfernee Simons, 11.5 points per game. That's not very accurate of how good of a scorer he is given his first 2 seasons he was on the bench. Simons has actually averaged more points than CJ McCollum in their best season at 24 compared to CJ's 23. However, CJ McCollum takes the throne when it comes to rebounds and assists per game, averaging more than Simons, as you can see. And as you can see, even during their best seasons, CJ McCollum also averages more steals and blocks, so CJ wins every category here, except for points, which you could argue is the most important one. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I'll be using Basketball Index to compare these specific stats between these two players that most websites cannot provide. Make sure you guys check out Basketball Index if you want. If you're into this kind of stuff, it's really cool. It's about $5 a month. You can do some insane comparisons that most websites will not allow you to do. And yeah, you have just so much freedom. So let's start this comparison. Simons on the left, CJ's on the right. Now, nothing from these first 3 categories is important. This is not important. Conceptual data, I don't care. I don't care about the percent of time Simons is guarding a point guard on defense. None of that matters. The first real statistic that pops out to my eyes is the true shooting percentage under the efficiency category. Anfernee Simons is in the 74th percentile for true shooting percentage among the NBA. And again, this is percentiles. Simons is not a 74% shooter. That would be ridiculous. He would be the MVP right now if that were the case. But no, this is percentile among the league. And CJ McCollum is in the 18th percentile. That is an astronomical difference. Simons and CJ share a lot of similarities in the efficient category, but Simons obviously is a more efficient player. As you can see, he has higher shooting percentage, a higher points per possession, better overall shot making quality. They both have some of the worst shot quality in the NBA, which makes sense given they both take extremely difficult shots. Similar shot creation, similar shooting talent. Simons is a little higher. Off-ball shot making, Simons wipes CJ in that category. So everything that indicates in this category shows that Anfernee Simons is a more efficient shooter than CJ McCollum. Now, not only is Anfernee Simons a more efficient player than CJ McCollum, but he is also a better finisher than CJ McCollum. The biggest outlier being the finishing talent and rim shot making. Simons is near the 70th percentile for these two categories, compared to CJ, who's in the 13th percentile for rim shot making and only the 28th percentile for finishing talent, which is very surprising given I thought CJ was an amazing finisher. Now, CJ and Simons are similar in these 3 categories, these 3 categories. Then again, they're not as important as the quality and the making and the talent category, I would argue. I guess rim shot creation is pretty important, but they're similar there. But as you can see, in general, Simons is the better finisher than CJ McCollum. All right, now we have interior defense. I don't really care about this one. You guys can look at every specific stat you want. I'm just here to highlight the most important stats and actually what differentiates them as big players. Off-ball movement, pretty similar. Off-ball movement's, I guess, pretty important, but yeah, pretty similar here. Offensive rebounding, I guess you gotta give the edge to CJ McCollum in this category. But again, offensive rebounding isn't that important, given that their roles aren't necessarily to rebound on their team. One-on-one. Now, both of these players are known to be extremely talented one-on-one players. You know, their one-on-one isolations is a huge part of this game, of their game. And, you know, you can compare every category, but I would just focus on this one, the one-on-one talent. Simons is in the 77th percentile. CJ's in the 74th percentile. So Simons, again, gets a tiny bit of an edge on this one, but you know, basically very similar. All right, guys, now we are going to be talking about perimeter defense. Super important category. Defense is half the game. What's the point of being a good offensive player if you're not going to play any defense? 4-pick pocket rate. Simons is in the 29th percentile. Not impressive at all. CJ, 60th percentile. So he takes a huge advantage in that category. Passing lane defense. Simons takes a slight advantage. On-ball defense, Simons takes a slight advantage once again, but in ball screen navigation and off-ball chaser defense, CJ McCollum takes the edge. So overall, what does this say about both players and who is a better defender? Well, I think from this statistics, CJ McCollum is actually a slightly better defender than Anfernee Simons. But honestly, at the end of the day, they are both, I would say, just average defenders at best. Now we get to playmaking, and you know, these statistics have indicated so far that CJ McCollum is not as good of a player as Anfernee Simons. But then we get to the playmaking category. Look how much of a playmaker CJ McCollum is compared to Anfernee Simons. Not discrediting Anfernee Simons. He's a solid playmaker. In fact, he's a good playmaker. You know, ranking in the 70th percentile for all these categories. And you guys can read this. We have passing efficiency, versatility. I'm not going to read them all, but they're all important. But look at CJ McCollum, ranking in the high 80s to low 90s in every single category within this playmaking category or section, whatever you want to call it. Very important. Post play, who cares? They're guards. Screen and rolling, they're pretty similar. Productivity, very important. This is kind of a wrap up to sum everything up so far. Fantasy points, nobody cares at all. Points per 75 possessions, super important. We saw that Simons was a more efficient player, and as you can see, when Simons has the ball, he's more likely to actually put the ball in the basket in the possessions that he has at the 94th percentile compared to CJ, who's only at the 76th percentile. Same with 3-pointers made per 75. That was expected. We know that. Rebounding, as you can see, CJ McCollum gets way more rebounds per 75 possessions. Not a super important category, but that is a significant difference for sure. Definitely nothing to overlook. And assists, as you can see, CJ McCollum thriving in his playmaking category in the 89th percentile. Compared to Simons in the 77th. Steals, they're similar, but CJ has the edge on the defensive end. Just a tad. And blocks, turnovers, this last one, all really similar. So that is it for the basketball index comparison between these two players. Overall, guys, I don't understand how you can look at these statistics and say CJ McCollum is the better player. Sure, CJ might be more flourished in more categories such as rebounding, defending, and playmaking, but Simons is right there behind him in all those categories. However, I think the efficiency differentiation is so vastly large in Simons' favor where you have to say Simons is a better player today. We are 2 months into this season, and in my opinion, the sample size is large enough. Both players are healthy, and as of today, I think you have to say Anfernee Simons is the better player than CJ McCollum. What do you guys think? Am I wrong? Am I right? I think my statistics argue my point pretty well, but then again, I love CJ McCollum. I have nothing but amazing things to say about him. I miss him as a Blazer fan, and yeah, I just have nothing but good things to say about CJ McCollum, so I'm sorry I had to put him down in this video. But I really am excited about Anfernee Simons as a player and truly do think Anfernee Simons is a better player. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more Blazers/NBA content. I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good day. Peace.